Welcome to my loose watercolor sunset meadow tutorial. Here is a quick list of the supplies. Feel free to pause the video and take a closer look. We are going to start off with our sky. I have a mop brush in tow and I'm going to grab some light pink that I'm going to use for the sunset. Let's take a quick peek at our reference photo. So I'm going to paint that kind of like glimmer of sunlight at the center of the reference photo, and then we are going to go around and paint the sky and then the foreground. So I have some pink and I'm just going to paint that highlight that we see sort of like right beyond the center mountaintops. And then now I'm going to grab some lighter blue and I want to try to paint the sky while the pink is still wet so that it all blends together in our sky. I'm going to grab some pink metallic paint and drop it where that glow is. So the metallic paint didn't come out as bright as I wanted to, so I'm just going to grab some gold. I already dried the sky, but I'm just going to add in a tiny bit of gold just to give it a little more shimmer. I'm going to grab my mop brush again and let's start working on the foreground. So I'm going to be using just a handful of greens, different greens, more on the warm olive green side. The reference photo sort of has layers to the meadow that we see in front of the mountain range. So I'm just grabbing several different colors of green in my palette, and we're just going to kind of color the lower half of the landscape. We're going to leave the tiny bit below the sky white because we are going to paint the trees along the horizon line there. So I'm going to leave that empty. Now I'm going to grab a pointy mop brush and some dark green. This is kind of like a perylene green. And I'm just going to make these kind of like loose line brush strokes to show the trees at the horizon line. So that initial layer of green that we did is still a little bit wet, which I kind of like because I like how the darker green that I'm adding is bleeding in a little bit into that lighter green that we have in the foreground. It kind of makes the layer of trees and the lighter green kind of feel like connected. Now I'm just going to add some more different shades of green to sort of give our meadow a little bit more contrast. Okay, so now I'm going to dry this layer. And now that it's dried, there are some hard lines, but that's going to be okay because we're going to kind of fill the foreground, and I think it's going to kind of cover those hard lines. So I'm going to grab some yellow and my splatter brush, and I'm going to grab some scratch paper, and I'm going to cover the sky, and I'm going to start splattering to paint some of the wildflowers that we see in the front. Now I'm going to splatter some pink. Now I'm going to grab some green, a little bit of a darker green, and I'm using the same round brush that I used for the splatters, and I'm just going to paint some bushes sort of like in the midground. They don't really look like trees, it's just kind of like foliage to sort of break up the kind of background horizon meadow and then the foreground where like all of our flowers are. So I'm just grabbing different greens to sort of break that up. Now I'm going to grab my liner brush and some darker green and just kind of paint some little grass blades in the very front right here. And to finish it off, I'm going to grab some watery dark blue or black and paint just a small flock of birds in our sky. And I actually want to add some white splatters, so I have some leftover gouache from a previous painting, and I'm just going to grab that and sprinkle in some white. And this is our loose watercolor meadow with a metallic sunset highlight.